So I want to tell you actually about the very first time I saw a ghost. It was 2018, and I went to New Orleans for the first time on a trip with my husband. Of course, it was New Orleans, and I just want to preface with the fact that I love New Orleans. It is just such an incredible city. If you haven't been, go. It is just got incredible art, incredible music, the culture, the people, the food, the style. I was just, wow, I could live here. You know, that's how I felt. So, we basically just enjoyed ourselves. And whenever I'm in a new city, I like to go on walking ghost tours. And this one, I happened to go on a walking vampire tour, which is also right up my alley. And it was incredible. And, you know, in the podcast episode 3, I talk all about the vampire tour that I took. And I tell you all the details about the alleged vampires that lived in New Orleans. And but it sets the tone, you know. It was a really cool night. I ended up taking it at midnight. It was a midnight walking tour. It was amazing. But anyway, while we were there, we did that, and I ended up going into this tiny little bookstore called Delphine Street Books. And while I was browsing the shelves, I saw this little red book that called to me. I don't know why. It was a used paperback, but it called to me. I took it off the shelf, and it was called The Voodoo Queen by Robert Tallant. This book was all about the most powerful and incredible woman, Miss Marie Laveau, a voodoo queen, otherwise known as a Voodooienne. So I bought her book. I was like, okay, this is perfect. What a wonderful souvenir, and I can't wait to read it. So I had that put in my bag, and we carried on with our day. And so after a long day, we decided to go back to where we were staying, which is called the Melrose Mansion. Now, the Melrose Mansion was built in 1884, and it is this grand white mansion on the edges of the French Quarter with 2 white pillars in the front, a wrought iron gate all around the property, a luxurious pool. It's very chic. It's a beautiful place. And it was built by a famed architect, and he had 10 children. And after a few decades of living there, they sold it to a couple of different people, and at some point, it was also a brothel. And then, of course, years later, it was renovated into this beautiful boutique hotel. So that's where we were staying. So after this long day of the vampire tour the night before, and the shopping, and the art and the culture, we decided to go back to the room to rest before we had our dinner reservations. So we go back to the room, and I lay down on the bed, and keep in mind, the rooms were set up like this. Our rooms were in the back of the property, and they're what they call double shotgun row houses. And what that means is, if you open the front door, you should be able to shoot a shotgun and go straight out the back door. So each room leads into the next. So we had the bathroom in the front, then the living area, and then the bedroom. So I'm laying down in the bedroom in the back, and I pick up my little red book, and I begin to read about the most incredible woman, Ms. Marie Laveau. And I was enthralled, and I was under the author's spell, and I just fell into her world. And what I loved about her is that she was raised Catholic, but she ended up practicing voodoo. So she used both Catholicism and voodoo together to help the people in her community. People think, oh, voodoo, it's so scary and bad. She never used it for anything evil. She counseled prisoners. She helped the sick. And she would help people with whatever was ailing them or troubling them. And she was very powerful. In fact, the newspapers even reported of a time where, this is the 1800s, that these 2 men were going to be executed in the middle of the town square. And so they asked Marie, will you come out and pray for the men and help in some way? This was their last moments. So she started to walk through the town, and a crowd was gathering behind her as they walked to the center where these men were on a wooden platform about to be executed. Their arms were tied behind their back with rope, and And as she entered, she started praying and chanting. And just as she started doing that, the clouds came over the platform, and the rain began to fall, and the thunder began to clap, and lightning literally came down and struck the platform and somehow released the men from their bindings. And they lived another day because it was so insane. Like, the newspapers reported this happened. So her reputation after that especially was like, wow, this woman. So you can imagine, I'm reading this book and I can't put it down. And it's one story after the next of how powerful she was. And then we realized, oh my God, we have dinner reservations. So I had to put the book down. And by the way, as I'm reading this, I'm writing down lyrics. I am crazy inspired by this woman's life. And I am already formulating my song, Voodooienne. So I put it down and I get into the shower in the front of the apartment, or the hotel room. And when I got out of the shower, I started to put my makeup on. And so I opened the door to the bathroom so that I could continue to speak to my husband, who was all the way in the back, in the bathroom. I mean, in the bedroom, because you know, he doesn't take as long. He's still waiting for the last second to get ready. So I open my door and I'm talking to him, you know, while I'm doing my makeup in the mirror. Until something made me turn right. Something caught my eye. And when I turned right, I saw a child. I saw a little boy, probably aged 7 or 8 years old. He was smoky white and just standing there with this old-fashioned outfit on. He had no collar and buttons from the neck to the hip, straight down, and then long shorts to the knee. And I was just frozen because all my life, my mother's been telling me her ghost stories. And now I'm actually seeing a spirit. There was no doubt in my mind as a child. Like, it was insane. And then he just ran right past the door, through the apartment. So I ran to the doorway and I to follow him. And he was gone. He was absolutely gone. I said to my husband, did you just see that? He didn't see a thing. But I did. I know I saw what I saw. And I stand here before you, and that day and every day since, I think about, who is this child? Did he know he died? Was he one of the 10 children that lived in the mansion? Did he die of yellow fever, which was a horrible epidemic that happened throughout the city? 4,000 people died during the time of Marie Laveau of yellow fever. Did he die of that? Was his mother working in the brothel? Did he live there too? What happened to her? We will never know. But I do know that hotel is haunted, because I called the hotel now all these years later as I'm putting together the podcast, and I spoke to the night manager, Emily, and I asked her about sightings in the hotel. And there are 3 entities that live in the parlor. I did not know. And looking online now, other people have seen a child in the hallways, and other spirits. So if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear all the details that Emily tells us about. So now, I want to sing my song for you, Voodooienne, that I wrote about the great Marie Laveau, that day that I saw my first ghost. Yeah. This is Voodooienne. Fire freedom.